Hello everyone! It is Sunday night and we are coming to you live from Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida. And we are going to talk about all of the awesome comics that came down this week as we wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to get you excited about way more books than you'll ever have time to read. But don't worry, I read them for you and you definitely want to be excited. This week has been a fantastic week for books and I am going to gush about all of them in just a minute. But if I'm going to do that while winding down your weekend, I obviously need some wine to do that. And so this week, we are drinking Specialty Selected Rioja, which is a Tempranillo reserve from Aldi, actually. So I'm really excited because I don't know if we've ever had an Aldi Tempranillo. Have we had one? Maybe. I don't know if they've ever had a Tempranillo. But we got really excited because this was in there the other day and we were like, holy crap, a Tempranillo at Aldi, which means it's a great price and it's probably going to be like a solid wine. And Tempranillos being my favorite, of course I have to try it. And so this is, they actually say like the Tempranillo grapes are from like their best vineyard. It's well balanced with hints of blackcurrant, cherry, and aromas of vanilla and oak, which is pretty standard for a Tempranillo. So we're going to see just how spicy this is, because it does call out those vanilla and oak flavors more than the spices. So we're going to check it out. Oh, that is very smooth. Again, it's kind of just like Aldi wines are just like standard. Like there's not like a lot of the pepper to it. Yeah.
Not as jammy as a normal Tempranillo.
Not quite as jammy, but I feel like that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like all the Aldi wines are kind of like in the middle. Like they never really go too far on any of the like strong flavors of the different types of wine. Like they're never like hardcore like any of the flavors. So they're kind of like, you know, a good like a starter wine version of whatever that kind of wine is. And this one too, like it's like I said, you said it's not as jammy. I don't think it's as peppery. It is starting to open up a little more. So we'll probably get some more flavors the longer it sits. I almost, like, it's like the vanilla is the spice, almost, at the end, instead of, like, a pepper finish.
Definitely more vanilla.
Mm-hmm. Again, that's what they called out. They called out the vanilla and the oak, which I almost, like, you can taste the oak, but not as strong as I would have expected from it. But we're going to give it a go. I mean, it's still good. I'm still excited to drink it. It's going to be wonderful. I think that, though, if you are, like, looking to, like, ease your way into a Tempranillo, this, like, since this doesn't have as much spice, this might be a good way to do it. Because most Tempranillos have a little bit more of a kick to them than this one does. So that might be, like, a good way to get into it. But it is more fruity, like it does say. And it does say it pairs well with casseroles, which sounds like this might be a good one to take to places on Thanksgiving. I'm going to slide this over there. Well, we talked about a couple more things. So we've had a couple of great things going on over the last week at Bat City. First of all, just a shout out to Curious and Kind for having myself and our art teacher Adrian out for a comic creation workshop this week at their amazing facility. It's such a cool space. And then we got to do comic creation workshops here on Saturday for a monthly like meetup for that. But one of the things that we've been doing over the last week is we have kicked off our like days of giving thanks to you, the customers, by having a different sale every single day. If you haven't seen it yet, it is pinned on the top of our Instagram. The calendar is also on the homepage of our website, so you can find it there as well. And of course, it's on our Facebook. So there's lots of places where you can find it. We also have it up in our store. And so just in case you didn't know, this week on Wednesday, we're getting buy one, get one free on manga. We're doing all hardcovers 20% off on Thursday, 20% off all current, like, new books coming out on the wall on the 15th. Modern Backstock is buy one, get one free on Saturday. And then a week from today, foils and facsimiles are going to be 25% off, which is a great deal. Oh my gosh, that's like basically we're not making money at all on foils at that point, but you're getting some good ones. And in addition to that, we also have manga meetup this Wednesday, the 13th at 6 p.m. Ladies and non-binary nerd night is actually this week at 8 p.m. I know, ladies, it's usually the third Saturday or the third Thursday of the month, but we had to do a little flip-flop this month. And then our subscriber potluck is this Friday the 15th at 7 p.m., which means the store will close to the general public at 7 p.m., but if you have your subscription with us, you've probably been to one of these before, or maybe it'll be your first time, but we like to have like a little friends and family night a couple of times a year for our subscribers, where you get some big deals, but we also do a potluck. So if you are a subscriber, which means you get your weekly pool list with us, and you come, even if you only come once a month to pick that pool list up, but if you have your pool list with us, you can actually come to that event. You can bring friends and family, and bring a dish or bring a drink or bring a dessert, whatever you want to do, and come up Friday night at 7 for that. It's going to be fun. And then this next Saturday coming up, the 16th, we'll be out at the Rocky Bluff Library Fest from 10 to 1. It's going to be fun. So I will be out there with our volunteer Kelly, while Matt and Santiago will be here for you on that modern backstock sale. So this calendar is hanging up a couple different places in the store. Again, it's on our Instagram, pinned to the top. It's on our Facebook. It's on our website. So there's lots of places so you can go to see what events are coming up, but also what those special deals are that you're going to not want to miss, because there's something every day until Thanksgiving. And then, of course, there'll be stuff going on Small Business Saturday, but you won't know what that is until we get there. So you might as well shop those deals now while you're waiting. All right, there is not as many books as there have been for the last few weeks, because we're not playing catch up with 3 weeks at a time, but there are still a lot of books that I'm obsessed with right now. I literally was like, I'm going to make every book a pick of the week this week. So, let's just say November, I don't know what today is, 10th? Yeah, it was just a great day, pick of, comic-wise. Great week this week, whatever November 7th was, I think it was. November 6th. It was a great day for comics. And we're going to talk about all of them right now. So I'm going to kick it off starting with Saga, and we had issue 70, and this is from Image Comics. And one of the things about Saga is, we've seen a lot of delays. Of course, we had the 4-year delay, and then now we kind of get the issues every other month instead of every month, but it's still always consistently a great story that's just been going straight on since 2014. And, we're looking at this story of a family who kind of started out as a Romeo and Juliet kind of situation. We had a woman and a man who were from warring worlds who got into a relationship together, and they got pregnant and had a child who was somebody that both sides of the war wanted to see gone forever. And now, over the last 70 issues, we've kind of seen this family go through all of the possible terrible instances, and we're kind of getting to those teenage years now. And we have, our young ward who is staying with the family, who's kind of been adopted, who is the son of the prince who nobody knows exists, and he's kind of going through some emotional turmoil because he realizes the problems that his family has caused, and he feels kind of to blame for those, and he also feels completely disconnected from everybody in his family. So he is trying to figure out what the best thing to do, and of course his adopted mom, is trying to figure out how to be a good mom, both to her charge and to her child that she had with the person who she was never supposed to be with at all. So she's got all of these mixed feelings and all these problems going on, and they are just trying to figure out what to do. Meanwhile, war and everything is still going on, but what I love about Saga is you could never know that. You could only see this as the story of a family just kind of dealing with the emotional growing pains of being a family and coming to life. Of coming of age together all at one time, and you never even know it was in a war-torn state, but they do constantly kind of throw some little things in to remind us, and to just make their characters' lives more difficult. Every time I teach a workshop, I'm always like, how can you make the characters' life more difficult? And really, Saga is Brian K. Vaughan doing exactly that each issue. This is how you make it more difficult. We've got I Hate Fairyland, issue 17 of what I believe is volume 6. And this is the Happy Endgame 5-part little mini that we've got going on. If you've never read I Hate Fairyland, it's been with Image for years as well, just kind of like Saga. And it's just been Scotty Young kind of having a blast. It is all about a young girl named Gert who gets the opportunity to go to a magical place called Fairyland, and when she gets there, she is supposed to go on a quest that is meant to be extremely easy because it's made for 5-year-olds, and Gert can't do it, and so she ends up getting stuck in Fairyland for essentially like the rest of her life, because she is still there, and she is stuck kind of dealing with all of the problems that she caused when she ran amok as a child in Fairyland, not growing up. And so now she has found herself having to go around and kind of find a new army to fight against all of the people who she actually killed, who are coming back from the dead to kill her. And what they tell her in this is that she can actually call on a bunch of fictional characters that are actually not fictional. They are a part of the Fairyland world, and I am very, very excited to see who that character is going to be. We get a little teaser of the first character that she recruits at the end of this issue, and so I'm going to talk to you about it in issue 18, so all your spoilers will come. I'm sorry, this is your chance. Grab issue 16 and issue 17, which are part 1 and 2 of this Happy Endgame situation, so you can know what I'm talking about when I spoil it for you next month. The Sacrificers, issue 12 from Image and the Giant Generator, which is Rick Remender's imprint at Image, which has just been really, honestly, like some of the best things that Rick Remender has put out have come in this last couple years, and Sacrificers is definitely leading the charge of that. This is about a world where the gods basically stay immortal by drinking the souls of sacrificed young children, and the sun god is kind of in charge of everything, and his wife is the moon. They are kind of estranged. They live different lives. And we are following a pigeon who was raised to be a sacrifice. That the family kept him in the barn so they would never get attached to him. And when he goes to be sacrificed, which they are told is an honor and a privilege because you're going to get to work for the gods, he actually finds out that the gods are in fact eating the souls of people and killing these young children that they're bringing in. And so now he is on a war path. But he learns in this issue that even if you are standing for the righteous reason and you have the best intentions at heart, you are still going to watch a lot of people that you love get hurt and a lot of the world burn. And he kind of has to come to terms with the fact that even doing the right thing might lead to some innocence being burned, and he's not sure he's up to that challenge now that it's actually happening. This book is so good. I believe this was my choice for like best sci-fi fantasy kind of book last year, and it still runs in that contention because it is so well written. I honestly think it's the best thing Rick Remender has ever done. Public Domain, issue 10 from Chip Zdarsky. This is Chip Zdarsky telling us how the comic industry works in a Chip Zdarsky kind of fun way. It is all about a man who created the world's most popular superhero who never actually got credit for any of the work he did, and his more boisterous partner, who was known as the writer but was more of a marketer, stole the entire thing and went on to build a giant empire, filled lots of movies that marketed, mass merchandised all of the characters. Something that has absolutely never happened in the comic book industry before. And so this guy finds out one day that he actually does own the rights to that character, and now him and his children and the former assistant to the competition are now making a new world of the Domain character, which is actually featuring 3 Domain characters, and you can read their story in the book The Domain that is also coming out from Image and Chip Zdarsky. But recently we found out that the wife of our main character had an affair back in the 80s, and he's always believed it was with Jerry, who is the other creator, and he recently found out that it was actually with the woman who was his editor, and he's never known the story before. He's never known this happened at all, and this issue is all her telling him the story, so we actually get to see how it happened, and just kind of how comics and being somebody who puts too much time into your work can put a lot of strain on your relationships, and the way that putting strain on your relationships might cause you to lose some people in your life. And he learned some lessons. And one of the most beautiful lines in this book is, she's like, I'm so sorry, but it all happened a long time ago. And he comes back with, it may have happened to you a long time ago, but I'm just learning about it and therefore just experiencing it now. And so for me, it's happening now. And I thought that was such a great way to talk about, when we hold something in, we don't tell somebody something, we keep those secrets from people. It's like we don't realize that, yeah, we've moved on and we've had time to deal with our trauma and our situations with it, but like that person's just having it exposed to them right now, so it's like it's fresh for them. Read it, it's amazing. Hercules issue 6 from Disney's imprint at Dynamite. This is honestly one of the, most of these have been little mini-series, but the villains have had mini-series, but both Hercules and Lilo and Stitch have continued to be these ongoing series, and they are just so much fun. This is following Hercules as he's trying to figure out what happened, because all of the gods have started to disappear, and every time he goes to try to question a god, turns out that they are gone too, and he has now convinced himself that, as usual, Hades is the ultimate problem, only to find himself in the underworld and learning that that is, in fact, not the case. And he is, for the first time in this issue, exposed to who we've known to be the bad guy for the last couple issues, and he is having to face him head on, and it is not going well for Hercules. Strength is not often a match for wit, and he is struggling with using just what he has, which is not enough. This, like I said, has been very good. If you're a fan of the Disney movie, the cartoon, you should definitely check this out, because it reads exactly like watching more of the cartoon. Anansi Boys, issue 5 from Dark Horse. This is another one of those books that I think just continues to be a really solid story, and I just think that not a lot of people even know that it's happening, and I think that more people should. But this is about a man who wakes up one day to find out that his father, who he's been estranged from his whole life, has passed away. And while he doesn't really know if he cares initially, when he goes back for the funeral, he realizes that his dad is actually a god, and therefore he is essentially a demigod or a god in and of itself. And he also learns that he has a brother. Unlike him, who's been in the dark about their father's powers and their maybe possibility to have them as well, the brother has lived in them his whole life and has just kind of become somebody who relies on the powers. And so these two have met for the very first time, and they're kind of experiencing each other's worlds initially in this issue. This is kind of like the body swap, kind of such Parent Trap moment, where the brother goes to the day job and kind of uses all his powers to kind of step up what has been happening to, our main character, Charlie. Meanwhile, Charlie is faced with the reality of several situations that his brother has painted for him, and is kind of trying to figure out, how does he want to handle this, and who does he want to be, and is learning what it means to be the child of this spider god. So, again, very cool, very interesting dynamics to see these two characters. And again, it is kind of such a fascinating thing, because he doesn't know what it means to be a god. He's always just been the safekeeping, playing bit close to the chest kind of human, and now he's got to learn. Free Agents, issue 5 from Image. This is the new Kurt Busiek and Fabian Nicieza working together on a story book that is actually maybe going to be a huge part of some other stories going on in the Image world. But this is all about a group of people who were superheroes in their own dimension, and they've kind of won the war that they were fighting, or so they thought, and they've come to Earth now, and they're we're just here to live some new live lives that are just kind of very human, and hide and kind of just start over. And one of the team members she's here, and she's kind of getting the chance to be a college student, so she's I really like learning, I like having the experience. And the leader of the group has now returned and is like, hey, you've gotten too soft, like the war is not over. And they kind of all ignore him except for one, and they just really don't want to be a part of his situation. And so he is not okay with that. And so in this issue, he's using his mind control device and powers to actually go into each of their minds and make them believe that they're back in the worst situations they've ever experienced, so that they'll want to come back to the free agents and be a part of this team that he's created. And it's not a pretty sight, and you kind of learn that like maybe this whole free agent thing isn't really as free as possible because they don't actually have a say-so in what they do, and they're kind of forced to be on this team whether they want to or not. The Last Wardens, issue 4 from Mad Cave. This is one of those books where the art is just crazy and all over the place and kind of tells the story in the best way for the book. This is all about a girl whose brother goes off into the Vietnam War, and he kind of disappears for a while, and they assume that he's died. And then one day while she's hanging out with some friends, she actually sees her brother walking down the street, and she's like, oh my gosh, he's okay, everything's fine, he's back. And she brings him home, and she's like, look, he's fine. Dad, who is an alcoholic, is like, no, he's not, he shouldn't be here. I don't understand what's going on. And so suddenly the sun literally blows up into this like giant town-eating monster, and it's just kind of destroying everything. And she's trying to save her brother when a group of people called the Last Wardens show up, and they are like, we're the wardens who keep monsters away from humans. We're trying to fight them. We're a last line of defense against things like this. And she absolutely does not know how to get out of their way, because they are determined to like kill the brother if that's what it takes. And she's like, I am not going to let that happen. I just got him back. And she's kind of exhausted all of her abilities in this. And so we're going to see in the next issue, which will probably be the last issue, if she can figure out how to save her brother from the wardens and the monster that is within him. Quill Universe, issue 4 from the EC Horror imprint at Oni Press. I'm very excited. This was the most all-star lineup for me for an EC horror book, because we get a story from Matt Bors, we get a story from Matt Kent, and we get a story from Cecil Castellucci. And then there's an extra story in there. So if you haven't read this one yet, oh my God, read this issue. The first story is actually, like I said, from Matt Bors, who is one of the best political cartoonists out there. Literally, the man is like 2-time Pulitzer Prize finalist for political cartooning. And his story is following a guy who is a part of the human resistance as they go to war against a man who is not a man. He is this alien being who has come over and become accepted by the American citizens, even though he obviously means harm to them, and becomes president of the United States. And they kind of figure out that they have to start a resistance. And it's his story as he tries to battle against that, and of how the rise of this alien becomes actually somebody who could take over the country, and we not even see what happens. And then we get one called The Doomsday Particle, which is a story from Matt Kent, and it is all about the people who discovered the God particles, and how there's technically 3 of them. And 2 of them got the credit, and the third one, who did not, who discovered the third particle, has a lot to say about that and to put forth into that story. And I don't want to show you too much from that. And the third story is from Cecil Castellucci and artist Andrea Moody, which is such a cool team we haven't seen before. But this is, I'm like distracted by the art on the back of the book. Sorry, I'm like, look at this, great. Like, is this a Matt Bors cover too? But this is all about a woman who is dealing with her own alien situation, or at least we think is happening. She's abducted. We're following along as we see this woman abducted by aliens, only to have them come into a room where people from all over the varying galaxies are having a conversation about what it's like to be in their different worlds. And then we see how that one plays out for them as they are returned to their home. And then the last one is just about another presidential situation, and a man who becomes president and who has a lot of promises that he cannot actually keep up with. Seriously, it's such a great issue of Pearl University is perfectly timed, obviously, for election week, because there's so many stories of what we would do in those kind of situations. But absolutely 100% the one to read. I'm just going to hand you that. Yeah, I know you haven't read your Matt Bohr story yet. Kill All Immortals, issue 4 from Image, and I got the one with the messy cover, so I'm going to hold it up to show you. If you haven't read this yet, this is another one of those that's just an absolutely fantastic book. This is about a girl named Frey who is immortal, and she is essentially from an old ancient Viking family that has a lot of people that, if you know anything about Viking culture, you will recognize, and they have been living their lives essentially running like a mob scam for the last hundreds of years. And she's met this journalist who's like, I'm going to expose, all the things that your family is doing. Or I'm not going to expose all the things your family's doing. Excuse me. I would never expose the things your family's doing, but I want to do a story on you and all the good work you're doing, being somebody from that mob family. And her family is, of course, like, no, he's going to expose us. You need to kill him. You need to get rid of him. So she's been at war, kind of Kill Bill, going against the family, taking everybody out. And this is one of the showdown moments where she comes face to face with everybody in her family, and they're like, you have to make a decision between us and them, because this guy is a journalist, and so at the end of the day, he's going to betray you for truth, and she has to figure out what she wants to do. And we do learn about their immortality and how they are able to do it in this issue. So check it out. It's a fun book. Monster High, New Scaremaster, issue 3 from IDW. I am so excited about this series. It just makes me happy every time I read it. This is the Monster High universe, which, if you don't know, was a line of dolls that had mini webisodes on TV and the internet, and then got a bunch of made for TV movies, or made for VHS, not VHS, DVD movies, straight to DVD movies, and then more dolls and more fun. And so they are all the children of the different kinds of monsters in the world, and they are high school students. And in this issue, we are following along as Draculaura, who's the daughter of Dracula. Kind of shows us what it's like to have to be essentially in charge of the Student Bloody Council, but she's also, her family kind of started Monster High, and so she's having to deal with a lot of executive board decisions that her father normally would have been in charge of, and she's just kind of losing it because she's got way too much on her plate. Meanwhile, the headmaster of the school has gone missing, and Frankie's dad has stepped in to be the new headmaster, but they're trying to figure out what happened, and all of these other people who are going missing. Plus, we just have all the normal relationships and problems. But it's such a great book for all ages to just get into, because, of course, Monster High was originally made for kids, but all of those kids that it was made for are now graduating college or older. And so it's like, hey, it's a little bit of everything for all of us who might be interested in it. And seriously, if you just like Universal Monsters and you want some fun, it's a great story. I even love how every character kind of stays in character. They all say their best schools or B schools, and things like that. But they each have the terminology that kind of fits their character, and they always stay with it. And it's so good. You got to read it. I'm gonna take a drink really fast of this drink. All right. Okay. Up next, we have issue 3 of Patra from Dark Horse. It's such a cool looking book. Every time I see it, I'm like, this is so great. If you have not read Patra yet, what are you waiting for? Grab a copy of issues 1, 2, and 3, because this is the story of a little girl who finds herself being chased by a serial killer through the woods. And she's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And I don't know who this guy is. And we have learned that he is a very psychotic killer who kind of takes out entire families and then keeps the youngest sister, because he's missing his own sister. And so he collects little sisters, and kind of keeps them around until he murders them too. And Patra is a former victim. She is somebody that was chosen as a little sister at one point. And now it's up to Patra to be the one to actually take him out because nobody else can catch him. And nobody else seems to have any idea of what they're up against when it comes to this man. And so Patra has kind of this extra sense that she's able to kind of sense where he's going to be and what he's up to. And so she's using that to help her find him to hopefully take him out. And I'm not going to tell you what that extra sense is or where it all comes from because that's kind of like the whole point of the book. So you need to check it out. But seriously, fantastic art and a great story inside of the Patra book. Night Watcher, issue 3 from IDW and your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle universe. We just recently relaunched Ninja Turtles, and I thought that it was going to completely erase what happened in the old run of Ninja Turtles, but it actually has not at all. And one of the big questions was what is going to happen with the new Ninja Turtle that was created by Sophie Campbell in her run, who you may know as Shinika. And now we have answers to that in this series, which is really cool. But we are following the Night Watcher, who is keeping an eye on the mutant city, the place where all of the people who were suddenly exposed to the mutant gene and became, different kinds of mutants have been forced into. And in this issue, we are following along as a woman who was turned into a mutant. Her story is kind of being told because she recently attacked somebody and they think that she's kind of like lost it and gone crazy because of everything that happened to her. But in reality, she's just scared and doesn't really know what's going on. And so the Night Watcher is helping her to figure out like what's going on with her and kind of maybe get her out of some dangerous situations and figure out what's going on in Mutant City in general. Junie Ba is writing this, and there's always so much heart and story going into everything that he does. And so I love it. I love this, like, Eisner, like, the Spirit, like, Will Eisner Spirit homage cover. It's so cool. But if you're a Turtles fan and you're like, I don't know what all happened in the old world of the previous volume, you can still jump into this new Ninja Turtle stuff. And this is a great side story where you don't actually have to keep up with what's going on with the boys. This is just going to give you something fun in that universe. And you should definitely check it out. We've got Guilt Frame issue 3 from Dark Horse and the Flux House imprint, which is Matt Kint's imprint. And this is the end of Guilt Frame, which went in a lot of different directions that you may not be prepared for. I love this story because it's square bound, so you get so much to go with it. There are 60 pages in this issue, actually. So you are getting bang for your buck with it. But this is about a man and his aunt who like to go on like fun trips together, but it seems like every time they go on a trip they get somehow stuck right in the middle of murder mysteries, and according to them they're absolutely great at solving them, and they should be used as helpers. And so they found these great chairs. I love this map. They found these great chairs, and the chairs were known for like possibly having jewels in them, and they wanted to know if they had found like the real thing. So they go to France on this trip to figure out if they have these really great heirlooms that may or may not have hidden gems in them, literally. And while they're there, they end up in the middle of a murder investigation for a man from the art museum, and it's made to look like he killed himself, but the inspector definitely believes there's more to it. And we have watched as they have nestled themselves deep into the mission of the guy, trying to figure out exactly what happened and help him find the real killer. We get to see who that is in this issue. We also get to see a lot of the backstory that we've never seen before about both of them, and learn about some of the other trips that they went on. It is a great family story. It's a great spy story. I mean, if you're a fan of Knives Out and movies like that, you should definitely pick up Guilt Frame, because it's going to have a very similar feel to all of those kinds of like family drama crime stories that you always wonder, like, what was the real answer? All right, we've got Duck and Cover issue 3 from Dark Horse and their Comixology Originals, which is almost always a great Scott Snyder story waiting to happen. This is the end of this. That is one of the things, is they combined the 6 issues down to 3 when they take them from digital to print. And honestly, this is one of my favorites. There's not been one of these that has come from Scott Snyder, from his digital world to this one that I have not loved. And this one, it's like Barnstormers and this one, I think, are my favorites. But I don't really know because they're all so good. But this one is so, so good. This is about a kid who is obsessed with movies. And it's in like that 1950s time period where they're supposed to be worried about the bomb that's going to be dropped on them. And they're learning about ducking and cover under their school desk. And this kid is obsessed with movies, and he and some people who tried to make one when they were kids all get separated into their teen years because of their own dynamics, but mostly because of racism and classism and things like that. And they all end up together in issue 1, and the sirens go off and they hide under their desk. And they think that the bomb has dropped, only to find out that there's an alien invasion happening. And basically the only people who survived the attack are the kids who knew to hide under their desk. And now they're all being rounded up by these aliens. And so these guys, these high school kids, have all come together and are like, we have to work together to get away. We have to figure it out. And so you get a little bit, you get kind of like one of those like 1950s movies about the bomb. You kind of get like a Stand By Me, Lean On Me kind of like kid story. You kind of get War of the Worlds. You kind of get somebody evaluating all of Hollywood. And then you kind of also get Red Dawn with the Wolverine standing against it. And so it's like Scott Snyder just went through like every movie genre that he loved, and he managed to tell a fantastic story about it. And I love that he actually uses movies as the frame tell. Like each issue is based on a different kind of movie and the different things he wants us to take away from the way that works into the story. It is so well written, so fantastically done. Again, I mean, Scott Snyder, he's always fantastic, but I really do think like his Comixology originals that are coming out through Dark Horse are just fantastically fire and worth it every time. They always end up being good. You get 3 issues, that's really 6 issues, and they're fantastic stories. And seriously, read Duck and Cover. It was so good. That was one of those where I was like, how many picks of the week can I have? What if like half of the books this week were a pick of the week? Because Duck and Cover issue 3 was so good, and as like a series, it was stellar, and I can't wait to gush about it even more at the Bouttastic Awards, because I know that will happen at the end of the year. Revolution 9, issue 2 from Mad Cave. And this is a part of our new underworld kind of journey that's happening at Mad Cave, and not to be underworld, not to be confused with the Kate Beckinsale movie, but like the underworld is in like crime and action and stuff like that. And this is all a world that's being built out by Mark London, who actually founded Mad Cave. This Revolution 9 is about a girl who was stolen from the life that she had with her parents and taken to be experimented on by essentially like government ops and trained to be the best assassin that she could be. And now she's realized that the reason that her emotions are so strongly against everything that they do is because everything that they do is wrong. And she's tired of being used as a weapon against people. And they send her to prove her loyalty by telling her to kill this guy who actually is like a young kid. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. I don't care what information he has, but he's going to be my way out. And so now she is on a mission to get herself and this kid free. And she's going to have to take out everybody in the process, because otherwise they're never going to stop hunting her. And it's kind of just nice to watch her kick butt everywhere she goes. Very Alias-esque feel. The Jennifer Garner Alias feels a lot like that. Skin Police, issue 2 from Oni Press. I'm very excited to report to all of you who I reached out to this week. I did find a copy of number 1, and I did get to read it. And thanks to everybody who's bought number 1, because I think we're sold out again. But Skin Police is all about a world where basically there was an epidemic that came from when people, like a fertility epidemic, and people couldn't have kids, and if you did, like crazy things happen, like you got sick and died. And so people started cloning people as like into babies, and those babies would grow up into like these weird clones that didn't know anything about it, and they would essentially explode and bad things would happen. And so they created different parts of the world, created different ways to deal with that. And so we are following the Skin Police, who are the people from this one jurisdiction who have basically become the people who round up these clones and take them to be used, like, where they, like, once they explode, they use the goop to make food. Which is disgusting. And they're like, people don't even know they're clones. They don't know, like, that they're a danger to the world until we tell them that they are. So it's like, oh, there's a lot of room for error here. And I think we're going to see that. But there is a resistance that is fighting against it. And we see a woman who is kind of recruited into that for her science skills, and after they come for her. And it's one of those, like, situations, too, where it's like the person that she lived with will turn her in, which is supposed to be a family member. And, you know, a lot of this is what dystopian worlds can feel like in this book going on here. It's Only Press. Yeah.
Never said.
Oh. Survival Street Volume 2, which is called The Radical Left. This is issue 2 from Dark Horse. This is one of my favorite books in comics. I love this so much just for the concept alone. And yes, I do need to get Volume 1 back in stock. But this is all about a world where capitalism has taken over our society. And so we are... you know, we've got, like, a president Walmart and, like, governor Costco and things like that. And so because capitalism has run its course and taken over everything, we actually are seeing them shut down things that people love, like Sesame Street. And so what they call Sesame Street in this world is Salutation Street. And so those little... the puppets, or as they call themselves, Felt Americans, have started their own resistance, and in Volume 1 they are fighting against a lot. In this volume, they have actually found themselves kind of separated because they've been a little at odds with each other, but they have come to essentially Portland, where they have found there's a bunch of safe cities and safe spaces, and you know, in issue 1, it's like they try to get a bunch of humans there for safety, and they don't want it. They're like, we were better off when we didn't have to live in this, like, space where there's not enough room for us. And they're like, yeah, but they hate you, and they're going to kill you, and they're making you work. And they're like, yeah, but, you know, my groceries were cheaper, and I had a better place to live on the outside, so I'll take my chances with death. And the Muppets are like, you can't, like, I can't help these people. And so they kind of all fight and fall apart. And in this issue, they have brought some librarians to a safe space because handing out books is illegal. And so they brought them into the city for the safe space, and people are coming for them. And so they have to figure out how to help the librarians at the risk to themselves, because they will be, like, their safe city will be destroyed if they harbor people that are against the law. And so crazy, like, radical book. It's great to see the Muppets doing it. It's great because if you watch Sesame Street, like, every character is in here with just, like, a made-up name. So you get, like, your Super Grover, you get your Oscar the Grouch, you get Elmo, you get essentially Abby Cadabby, you get, like, Snuffleupagus, Big Bird. Like, they're all kind of here, and it's really cool to see. And so incredibly well written. Shadow Man, Soul Eaters, issue 2 from Valiant and Alien Books, and this is a part of our resurgence of the Valiant universe now that it is at Alien Books. So you're getting to see news stories from some of the classic Valiant characters, and in this one we are following Shadow Man as he's having to fight against his own love of his life, Alyssa, who he finally got to have this nice, like, happy connection point with, only to... And, like, after years of trying to get control of his own demons, literally, because Shadow Man is meant to kind of usher people to and from the shadow world and has his own Shadow Loa that he has to deal with. He finally got control of that, found a place and a woman who he loves, and now she has been taken by the Dark, who is controlling her and has turned her into his magpie, his secret weapon, who goes after everyone. And Shadow Man has called all of his Mambas, and, like, which would include punk rock Mamba, or punk Mamba, not punk rock Mamba, punk Mamba, who is a long-running Valiant character, and a couple other Shadow Loas who are coming to help him fight, and nothing is working, and he is determined to save her without causing any damage. But we get to see the backstory of how the Dark Man has kind of controlled her and taken over, and we're going to see, you know, if there's any way to save her before it's too late. And it's a nice doomed love story, like in an action story. Speaking of doomed love stories and action, we've got The Crow issue 2 from Sumerian. This is very much if you are fans of the Crow movie, but also I feel like if you're fans of the Crow comic, you'll really love the kind of return to that black and white and dark like looking art that they do. But it is following not only kind of like we don't follow it's Eric Draven, right? The Crow. Yes. Okay. I was like, is it Eric? Yes. We don't follow him. We're actually following the story of somebody else, but it's very similar to the same thing where he is going after all of the criminals who are responsible for the death of his loved one and the death of possibly himself. He is using the power of the crows to go after these people and is kind of walking in that in-between world. And we are actually seeing him kind of representing everybody who has ever been awakened to the crow spirit over the course of time. Like he keeps having these flashbacks of, the like Civil War kind of time period and stuff like that. So he's got the crow in him and he has to kind of fight it. This came out around, like this was like announced or set to release, like kind of because that new Crow movie came out. But like I said, it gives you a little bit of everything that ever has existed in the Crow world and kind of builds up a new story on the same way that most of the Sumerian movie books have. So if you're a fan of the Crow, definitely don't miss this one. Sweet Paprika open for business, issue 1 from Image. Now this is the first ongoing mini-series, whatever you want to call it, for Sweet Paprika that is not by Mirka Andolfo. Mirka Andolfo has always written Sweet Paprika, which is about Miss Paprika, who is an editor of a book publishing company and has worked her way up and through the ranks. And in her story, she had to kind of come to terms with her own sexuality. This is a different story. It's a spinoff. This is about her assistant editor, Aubrey Jean, who wants very much to be an editor. And Aubrey he is a demon who has found himself in a relationship with an angel. And one of the things that has been a struggle for them in their relationship is Aubrey is overly dedicated to trying to get the position he wants in work. So he's constantly working a lot. And meanwhile, his partner is not into monogamy. And so he wants an open relationship. And Aubrey's not really sure how he feels about that. But he kind of just lets him have it because he feels like he's working all the time anyway. So it's not really his place to kind of take that away. But for the first time, they actually get to do an open, like Aubrey gets an open relationship kind of moment, and it makes his partner very jealous. And so they kind of have to learn how to deal with that jealousy, how to deal with the balance of work and life, and where they want their relationship to go. From the letter from the editor at the very beginning, we are in for an amazing story from Steve Orlando, who is writing this one. And honestly, as somebody who has read it, I love it. It still has all the wonderful feelings of Sweet Paprika, who is in the story. It has all the same tones, all the great beats, all the great jokes, and all of the very mature artwork that is not for children. But it is so good. Sweet Paprika has continuously been just an absolute delight of a fun rom-com kind of story that continues in that with Steve Orlando writing it now, and it's so good. Adults only, check it out. Les Morts 13, giant size special from Image and the Syzygy imprint. And this is kind of bringing back, I think it's reprints of something that Ashley Wood did a long time ago that are put into these oversized square bound books to give us the story. But it is about Les Morts, who is in the robot and human world, where he's having to kind of be an investigator, kind of following just some different things that are happening. And in this, we see the death of a robot, and he's got to go into this cathedral and essentially watch to make sure that the body doesn't come back to life, which they all always do, and things happen. And so we kind of see that as a frame tale. And in the meanwhile, while he's sitting there, he kind of talks about other things that have happened. in the community and just some crazy stories of different things that happen. And I love this book because it smells wonderful. It is on like classic newsprint with heavy ink, and so it just smells good. What did I said yesterday? Sometimes you got to stop and smell the books. This is one of those where you absolutely need to do that. It's a mixture of prose, like there's no paneling in it really. It kind of has like every few pages you'll see some actual panels, but it's a lot of prose and just like random chance dialogue mixed in with, here's a panel page, mixed in with some just like crazy off the wall stuff. So you don't have to have read anything before. You're still gonna find yourself like figuring out what's going on one way or the other. And so it's honestly just like a fun book to just look into and discover a weird world that smells delicious. I'm just gonna keep talking about how it smells. Exit City #1 from Mad Cave. And this is also a part of our Underworld universe that Mark London is building. This is such a cool like sci-fi addition to that world. I guess the whole thing's kind of like sci-fi-esque, but this is we build out a city that they want to build a city where all the scientists can kind of go and build all this tech and everything and kind of have safe space where they're not like regulated in a way, and they can't do it. They can't get away from everybody like anywhere in America. So they just start building off the coast of California, and they build what they call Exit City, which is their own city that has no regulations, and they're kind of like sort of a part of America, but not really. And so they're supposed to be run by their own. And we are following along as two detectives are attempting to solve a murder that has been happening, or like a string of murders, and our main detective is actually being interrogated for what happened. And if you see the pictures that are on the screen, he has this jacket full of vials, like a jacket pocket full of little like red, blue, and yellow jacket or vials. And this detective, he's like talking to them constantly. And the detective, who's been around for a long time, she's like, that's so weird. They talks to his pocket, and I don't know what's going on. He's kind of a strange guy. He's the new guy. He doesn't really know the rules of Exit City, but he seems to have something going on, and we do get to learn what that is. We do get to see a little bit about what's going on in this murder mystery, and we get to know a lot about our characters. And I kind of like both of them, one being like the rough, tough, like grizzly, long-term detective, and the other who doesn't play by the rules and beats people, and then the other one being like the new guy who's still on like new to the force and doesn't really has like his dark secret. And I love that the rough, tough, grizzly one is the girl. I think it's so cool that she's like, he's like, I don't trust you because you don't play by anybody's rules and you're as close to a dirty cop as you can get while still being a good cop. And she's like, I don't trust you because you're stupid and new. And I love that this dynamic is building up something great for these two characters, and I can't wait to see where that series is going to go. Kill Town from #1 from Keenspot. This is what happened to the Night of the Cadillacs that was at Scout. So a lot of people picked up Night of the Cadillacs. A lot of people picked up Lipstick Clica, which is one of the pieces of the Night of the Cadillacs. This is going to continue that, but with a new name and a new publisher. And so in Night of the Cadillacs, we just kind of saw this girl who needed to survive a night in a street that was filled with different gangs of different kinds of people. And now we're kind of learning about those different gangs. And in this issue, we are following a woman who has kind of worked her way into a gang. She's been in prison, and while in prison, like she's finally made her way out of prison, and she's kind of trying to get her spot back in the gang. But we do learn the kind of rise of her and how she worked her way up from a server at a bar to being a part of this gang that was one of the most dangerous in town. And we learn where you step and how you overstep very quickly if you get involved in some of these things. But each of these Killtown books is going to kind of bring us some of those characters. They did say that Lipstick Clica, Night of the Cadillacs, like had some optioning at a point, and so I think that's why they're trying to continue it with this new publisher to give us a little bit more of the story. But if you want to learn more, you kind of don't really need Night of the Cadillacs to figure out where we're going from here. I think this is going to be kind of almost like a relaunch to give us more of that universe. DuckTales. Woo! This is issue 1 of DuckTales from the Disney imprint at Dynamite. And this is classic DuckTales cartoons come to the comic book world, which isn't the first time, won't be the last, but Huey, Dewey, and Louie are hanging out with Uncle Scrooge, and they're having an absolute blast counting his money for him. And I say that in all sarcasm because they hate it. And all they want is Uncle Scrooge to tell them stories about something fun. And so Uncle Scrooge is like, fine, I'll tell you the story of how I got my money, essentially. And he's like, let me tell you about this mask I found. And so he tells them about this, like, rich mask that he discovered and the process of getting that and all the crazy things that went with it. And then he tells them the story of... that's the mask story. Let me see, what's the next one? He tells a story about being like a deep sea, like out to sea, and a story with pirates and adventure and things that happen on that. Obviously still coming back to his money because Uncle Scrooge only cares about one thing. And he just kind of spends the day telling the kids these stories, which I love, that kind of look like classic stories of the DuckTales, but I do love that he like makes them iron the money. And it's so ridiculous. Like, as always, Uncle Scrooge the capitalist and the kids just wanting to have a good time. And we do learn that there's some big things coming for the kids, for Uncle Scrooge. There's more to come because Uncle Scrooge reveals a giant map of Duckburg and some interesting stories in his last tale that makes the kids have to make some choices about where the story is going to go in the future. Seriously, if you like DuckTales, read this. I know we recently had the new DuckTales cartoon. I never got to see it, which is a real shame because I know David Tennant was on it. But I loved classic DuckTales, so it's great to see. Josie and the Pussycats, the annual spectacular from Archie Comics. As always, an Archie Spectacular is a great way to just, have some fun in your day. And this is no exception. It's kind of a little bit like the Halloween special. So in the very first issue, or story inside the issue, we have Sabrina getting called by Alexandra, who hates Josie and the Pussycats, but always has to be wherever they are, because they have been bewitched by a evil witch who is making them play music, which is also like mind controlling all of these monsters at this party. And so they need Sabrina to come in and stop this evil magic and save the Pussycats from harm, and maybe all the monsters too. And after we see how that plays out, we actually go back to a story, which I wish they would give us the year on it, that's called The Falcon's Claw, and it is all about the girls going to a garage sale and all the crazy things that you can find. And Josie finds a necklace that features a weird falcon's claw on it, and Val tells her maybe she shouldn't get it because it's ugly and also because it's weird and creepy, and Josie's like, I'm gonna get it. And so they get it, and they end up going, it ends up giving Josie some bad nightmares, and they have to go to the place that they need to solve it from, the mystery of what's happening in Josie's dreams. It's actually a 2-part issue, and both are in here, and it is classic Dan DeCarlo, so you get both parts of that. And then you get another story that's called Ice Princess of the Lost Civilization, also a 2-parter, and we get both, and it's all about the gang going out to play some music on an Alaskan cruise, and they decide to go out and explore. And while they're exploring, they end up inside of a cave because Melody is like, I can keep us safe from this snowstorm coming. Follow me to this cave. I feel like I've been here before. And it turns out to be a secret society lives deep beneath that cave that worships their princess, who just happens to look exactly like Melody, possibly have been Melody in another life. And now she must defend her world and kind of save them all from being stuck in this cave forever by, battling out to see who the real princess is and whether or not they deserve their release. Always just fun. I love it. You can't go wrong with Josie and the Pussycats. They're just so much fun. And it's just a happy book that you sometimes need at the end of the day. Yeah. All right. One for Sorrow, issue 1 from Distillery. This is the new Jamie McKelvey book, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. Everything from Distillery has been fire so far, and this is definitely going to continue that trend. We are following along as a woman is kind of trying to figure out her heritage. She feels like she should have been somebody of noble blood, and she is currently married to a rich man, and she kind of wants to prove her own heritage. And so she's been seeing this medium who is like, okay, well, I can help you find your ancestors. I can figure out what's going on. I can talk to your father and the people before him. And you know, whether or not this medium is really up to some truth or some twists and turns is but something we're going to find out. Meanwhile, at the same time, we are following a woman who works in a bar. And at that bar, there is kind of the gang of the underworld, some people who run some seedy businesses, some gambling, and some other big things. And she's kind of just knows more than she should for the woman who's in the bar, but she is determined to get even more information. Meanwhile, there's a detective who's been trying to figure out who this magpie killer is that's going around. We also have the person who is like hunting all these people down, the magpie killer, and doing all of this crazy stuff. It's so many like intricate twists and turns, great characters already, so much going on in this book, and we do get to see a little bit of what is in store and who and how all of these characters relate to and through, and it is some good stuff, like really like what Jamie is building. There's going to be some big reveals that come in this issue, but also in the issues to come. And so if you are enjoying distillery books, for sure, you have to read this one. If you like books that are like investigations of like the time of Jack the Ripper kind of investigatory stories, this is a good one. And if you like women who are awesome, you definitely should read this, because he's giving us several different female characters to start out with that are really great. And if you love distillery, you should know that they have really cool shirts. This is my new shirt from Distillery. This is the Somna shirt with some awesome art by Becky Cloonan. I'm really excited. Shout out to Becky Cloonan and Tula Lotte for an incredible Eisner-winning story in Somna. Distillery has been around just this year. This is their very first year, and they I think they hit 1 year next month, and they already have an Eisner for an incredible series. If you haven't read it yet, you should. It's so good. And they already have merch. So fantastic. Keep it up, Distillery. Here's to another great year. All right. We've got some more new number ones. We've got the Fade from Boombox. This is the teen imprint from Boom, and honestly, it has been crushing it this year. You know, we had I Heart Skull Crusher, we had Power Rangers, Ranger Academy. We just started with Sir, and this is another great one. So this is all about some college age students. They're like in their first semester of college. And they're kind of trying to learn that balance of going from high school to college and dealing with family life and dealing with school. And our main character isn't really doing very well with it, and she feels like she's better at making up situations for her fantasy characters than she is at being in the real world, and she kind of wishes she could just trade places with them. Well, essentially, their version of TikTok in this story comes up with the TikTok trend, which is how to like fade into your imaginary world. And there's this whole ritual you're supposed to do, and it'll help you cross over into like your favorite imaginary world and start seeing what life would be like there. And of course, like, their psychology teacher is like, that's just your brain. I guess it's their writing teacher. She's like, that's just your brain putting it all together for you. Like, it doesn't really work. But our main character is definitely in a place where she needs it to work. And so she tries one more time to see if she can get the spell to work. And we are left wondering exactly what is going to happen from that. Fantastic characters. As always, Boombox stories kind of feel like Americanized manga. So there's always some really great stories in there and really emotional journeys and fantastic. And this is no exception to the rule. We've got My Little Pony Classics Reimagined. This is a one-shot retelling the story of the Odyssey from IDW, and the Classics Reimagined from My Little Pony have been fantastic, and I think that like elementary schools should use them to teach kids classic literature because they're so good. But this is Pinkie Pie has gone on a journey to be a part of the Great Trojan Bake Off. And she left behind the world's bestest cupcake to save for when she comes back. But everybody that's left behind in Ponyland, or Pony Island as it is, want to eat it. And they're trying to figure out who should get to eat the cupcake based on that. And while they're doing that, Pinkie Pie is on her way back, traveling with a bird that lands on her ship that she names Homer, because wink, wink, nod, nod, nod kind of thing. And she goes through all the stories from the Odyssey. So you get to see the tale of the golden apple. You get to see the lotus eaters. You get to see Circe. And Circe turning all of the ponies into pigs. You get to... Pinkie Pie talks about her Trojan horse that she created in the Great Trojan Bake Off, which is a fantastic way to include that. It is such a good one. We even get to go to Hades, and we go to the underworld, and she gets to meet Persephone, and she kind of has that underworld story of trying to break out of there and find the right way home. And then she learns so much along the way about how she's supposed to, maybe not be so conceited and maybe not be so I'm the only one who can be good at something, but also to kind of be open to learning new ways to do things and exploring the journeys. And this is so good. All of the Odyssey jokes in it are spot on as usual. All the lessons are fantastic. It is such a good book. If you like My Little Pony at all, you definitely need to read it. And if you're a fan of classics, check out all the My Little Pony classics reimagined, because they have been fantastic. Something is Killing the Children, the Zero issue from Boom Studios. This is a zero issue. We are 35 issues into Something is Killing the Children, and they took a step back to give us a zero issue that is actually going to set something up. So, interesting thing about Something is Killing the Children, if you didn't know, it was originally only supposed to be a small mini-series about a girl named Erica Slaughter destroying some monsters, and she was a part of a secret society that protected children from monsters that were coming. Well, that series ended up being so good that they kind of just kept going and kept going. But we now are going back with this zero issue and establishing something that is very important to the story to keep going on. So this is kind of giving you pre-Erica in issue 1, where she goes to Archer Peak. This is Erica in a different town, and she saves a little girl, and we are watching after that's happened as the little girl is being investigated by a man, and he is trying to figure out whether or not Erica gave away too much information about the world that they represent, and to figure out what he's going to have to do with this child based on that. And so we get to see Erica and the reasons why she does the things she does. We get to see what leads her to Archer Peak. And we get to learn some things about the universe and the overall story that I think James Tynion felt like he needed to step back and go and do really quickly in order to actually keep that story going. And so it's like that world that we're getting to a point where so many people are after Erica, and so many different things are happening between House of Slaughter and Something is Killing the Children, that he kind of needed to go back and say, hey, it was supposed to be like that all along. You just didn't know it. And so this is kind of doing that. This is filling in some leveling groundwork to make what's going to come from House of Slaughter and Something is Killing the Children work completely.
If people are just starting Something's Killing the Children, should they read this before they read Volume 1?
I don't think so. I mean, if you could. I think you 100% could. I think it, if you did. This is one of those kind of like with the Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino universe that they built, where it was like, they said you didn't necessarily need to read one, but then for people who read... I read The Passageway and I read it all in order, and I was like, it didn't really make a difference. But then you came in and you read Tenement first, and you were like, oh, that makes more sense if you do go back and read it. We're kind of all the people who came in on Tenement going back and reading this zero issue, and House of Slaughter, which kind of both build this background world. And so I would actually love to meet the person who starts on the zero issue. and see if it builds it out from the beginning for them. They are going to be, because that is sold out, and they're not doing a second print of it. So what they are going to do, though, is they are going to be releasing a special edition that has the 0 issue and number 1 in it together, so that people who want to start right now can start with 0 and 1, because 1 is also hard to find. And so they're going to just make a little bit oversized of a book that's 0 and 1, so you can just start fresh. Which kind of tells me that, yes, Boom is saying you should read 0 and then start the series. So if you haven't gotten into it yet, why not? You got a 0 issue, why not start at it? I do feel like, in the same way that I was like, Bone Orchard Mythos, 10,000 Black Feathers didn't really make sense to me until I read Tenement. I kind of feel like there's going to be a lot of people who the 0 issue, it won't have the weight that it has until you read Something Is Killing the Children. So that's kind of where I feel. But I've also been reading Something Is Killing Children since 2019, so my opinion is skewed. All right, so I've got like 4 books that I really love that I couldn't choose between this week, so I'm going to put them all in there. First up is FML number 1 from Dark Horse, and honestly and truthfully, this would have been here no matter what, because I'm just excited to have a Kelly Sue DeConnick book on the shelf right now. She is one of my favorites, so I'm very excited about it. But I also just really love all of the characters that have been created for this story, and that's really the driving force for me with this coming into my picks. This is about a young girl who, a young boy and his girlfriends, like a bunch of teenagers who are dealing with the terribleness of our world. He had a punk rock mom, or I guess I should say they. I don't really know. I think they is a better way to say it. They have a mom who was like into zines and rock and punk music and was really cool in their time, and now we're following these teens as they kind of aren't cool, but they have their own punk band. They're also kind of trying to get into zines. They're really like the underground kids who they're not uncool, but they're not cool at the same time, and they're really just trying to make their mark, and they're trying to build up their band and their friendships. And again, it's kind of one of those you get like this is like the other side of grommets. Like for like all the kids who were into grommets because it was like the 80s, this is really good for the people who are living in a world like right now. Like these are people who have to wear masks because it's during the COVID years. They are dealing with school shooting situations, which do not take place in the book, but they make reference to it. Like the mom's like, I got you a new backpack, and the younger daughter is like, well, why do I need a new backpack? What's wrong with my old one? She's like, well, this one's bulletproof. And so it's just got a lot of those little commentaries on what's happening in our life, but it also kind of gives us teens, and the fact that teens kind of don't change ever, that they're all just looking for a way to belong. They all want to be like their own unique person. They all need a friend that they can connect with, and they're all willing to make extremely terrible decisions for the ability to do those things. And we are going to see exactly where this takes us for that. Kelly Sue just writes amazing worlds and writes amazing people, and just to have that little bit of commentary on hey, we've all been there, like, and it's hard for all of us, and you know, make good choices, kids, is really good. Speaking of kids making good choices, Ranger Academy issue 12. It's from Boom Studios. This is part of the teen imprint from Boom, that Boom box, and it is the last issue, which is why it is in my picks of the week, so I could remind you once again that I love this story so much, and it is the perfect young adult adventure story. Even if you do not care about Power Rangers at all, you're going to find a place in it. And so we have been following the story of a young girl, Sage, who never knew that Power Rangers existed, only to stow away with some Power Rangers off of the abandoned moon that her and her dad live on, to find out that her dad is actually one of the, like, really famous, really powerful Power Rangers that she had no idea he even knew what a Power Ranger was. She's now finding herself in a space where she's made a lot of really great friends, and there is a dark specter that is coming to destroy all of the Power Rangers and Ranger Academy in general, and she and her friends are the only ones who can stand against it, with the help of some adults who have always been important in their lives. So good. Again, classic young adult, like hero's journey situation going on. Just happy feelings. Always like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Like the drama of it all. Great relationship building, great story. And this is, we always need a teenage girl to stand in opposition to a corrupt force. And this is that one. All right, we've got Living Hell issue 1, and it is from Dark Horse. I think everything but the Power Rangers book is a Dark Horse book for Picks of the Week this week. So go Dark Horse. Way to go. This book, I was talking to one of our fantastic friends, Anthony Pizza, this week, and he was telling me that he heard a lot of great things about this, and I'm not surprised. This is a world where we're following a guy who's a bartender, and he only works 2 days a week, and everybody keeps saying that he's kind of like the irresponsible guy. Like, he loses all these jobs. His partner, his wife is like, you don't pull your weight. I need you to just keep this job. Please don't lose it. Also, like, you're doing a great job, like, making our kid love you, but you're kind of good at that because you don't do any of the responsibilities in our lives. And we find out that the reason he is the way he is that he is actually a god. And the gods of other religions were essentially pushed down into hell and turned into demons, demonized, literally. And so he has been in hiding, and this is his way of kind of staying under the radar, is by being just this irresponsible, like, person who just takes these part-time jobs and kind of blows off all of his responsibilities otherwise. And now he has been, there is a group of people called the Shepherds who are coming to look for all of these former gods / demons, and their job is to round them up and take them out. And he faces against one of those in this book, and it leads him into a journey that he has been trying so very hard to avoid for so long. And it starts up a quest for us that we are going to see, and it is going to be fantastic. I am so excited to see where this book goes. It's really cool to learn who he is. It's really cool to see what those responsibilities are, and I will talk about them when we get to issue 2, because I want you to get to discover them on your own with issue 1. So I'm not going to talk about what all happens to him and everything that comes from that. You're going to have to read issue 1 to find out, and you definitely want to, because it's going to be a fantastic story along the way. And lastly, we have the Carlisle School for Kings issue 1 from Dark Horse. I had no idea what this was. I'm not going to lie. I'm the worst orderer in the world, apparently, because I always forget what I ordered by the time they get here. But if you watch this show, or if you talk to me in person, you know that my favorite genre of manga is person who didn't want to be ruler is now like either the ruler or in love with the ruler of a random kingdom and has to learn how to become a ruler themselves. And guess what? That's what this is. I'm very excited. This is all about a young girl whose parents are essentially, like, there's a kingdom, but within that kingdom, like, they're kind of like the lord and lady of this one quadrant of it, like, and they start speaking out against the king because he doesn't take care of the people, and their people in their quadrant are suffering. And so the king comes and kills her parents, and now she's kind of forced to take over and rule, even though she didn't really want to do that anytime soon. Well, the thing about this kingdom, this realm, is that the king is actually chosen from young people who are a part of all of those different quadrants. Very Hunger Games-esque, kind of. You get chosen to go to this School for Kings, which is not really actually that much of a school, because, like, yes, they teach you, but also they're like, you might die along the way, and that's how we know you're not qualified to be the king. And if you do any of these things, like, we might kill you, and if you do any of these things, you're going to be punished. And she gets there, and everybody is calling her the traitor because her parents, like, were killed for being traitors, and she's like, I'm not a traitor, and I have to prove to them that I'm going to win this. And she's kind of also, like, the only girl in the running for it, so she's got double reason to prove it. It's so good. I'm so excited. She's got very much like that. If you read oh my god, why did I just forget the name of the book? The Divergent. She kind of has is very much like Divergent in that they come in and it's like you're the underdog, you're not going to make it, and like the people who are at the lower end of the spectrum are like kicked out of the running for it and sent home or killed depending on the situation. And so I cannot wait to see where this goes. I'm so stoked. It's going to be so good. Again, great week for Dark Horse Comics for sure. All right, we've got some other books in stock this week that I'm going to blow through really fast just so you know what you missed if you didn't come pick them up. First up is DC Horror Presents Creature Commandos, and this is issue 2 of 6. Kind of getting you back into who the Creature Commandos are before James Gunn's universe makes a movie with them. We have the Green Arrow Annual 1. We've got the relaunch of the JSA, and it is being written by Jeff Lemire. I'm very excited to see what that means, and I have heard nothing but wonderful things all week. Kahori, Reshaper of the Worlds, issue 1. This is the Marvel Voices book for this year. I'm really excited. This character looks very beautiful and wonderful, and this is a fantastic Maria Wolf cover. Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who you may know from the Deadpool movies, has their own title out this week. This is issue 1. Plastic Man No More, book 3, as part of the DC Black Label. Red Sonja, Death and the Devil, issue 3. Shazam, issue 17. Over the last couple years, we've been doing reprints of The Walking Dead in color, and we have finally hit issue 100 of The Walking Dead in those color issues, and I had a lot of people who were really excited to get their hands on that this week. Nyx, issue 3, X Factor, issue 4, with Mark Russell writing the X Factor, and I have had so many people this week when they picked it up go, I did not expect this to be this good, and I'm like, Mark Russell, baby, it's always going to be good. X-Force, issue 5, The Old Cements, issue 6, we've got Venom War, issue 4, and we've got the black gooey because we put Venom Horse on the cover of it, and it's a fantastic cover. I love it. We've got Venom War, Spider-Man, also issue 4. Yeah, Kid Venom is out with issue 3 this week. Star Wars, Battle of Jakku, Insurgency Rising, issue 4, with that Phantom Menace anniversary cover. Star Wars, Ahsoka, issue 5. Spider-Man Black Suit and Blood, issue 4, and I love seeing Black Cat get so much love recently. Spider Society, issue 4, Gunslinger Spawn, issue 37, Spawn himself at issue 358, and The Scorched at issue 35. A big week for Spawn. So much Spawn World going on. Jenny Frison is back on Poison Ivy, and so we've got Poison Ivy issue 26 with this gorgeous Jenny Frison cover. Good Lord. Thank you, Jenny Frison, for existing and making art for all of us. Blood Hunters, issue 4. Conan the Barbarian, The Battle of the Blackstone, issue 3. We've got some trades. Finally, a trade for Red Light from AWA. I love this book. This was one of my favorite books over the last year. Definitely one of my favorite AWA stories. I absolutely love it. It was so good. Mushroom Knight, Volume 2, and I believe this won all of the awards this year. It was so good. So you got it. It's just beautiful. You got to check it out. Scarlet is out with her volume as a part of your Energon universe. Kelly Thompson writing essentially a very Black Widow story for Scarlet from the G.I. Joe world, connecting into your Transformers G.I. Joe universe. Our stories carried us here. Tinkering Towards My Spark. This is a fantastic book to go with the Our Voices Carried Us Here story, and it is actually a flip book. I just noticed that right now. So it actually has it in both languages, which is phenomenal. And then we've got Astrobiologist Press from Aliens book. This is kind of one of the Alien book mangas, but I had to show it off because it's got like this cool, it actually has like a slip jacket on it, which is cool. And then I'm going to take it off so you can see that it's got this cool, like, I don't want to crack the spine, but the cover kind of goes down for a wraparound cover, which is cool. Beautiful manga from Alien Books, which has been putting out. Ooh, and then their inside cover is actually different too. Look at that on the slip jacket. That's so cool. I love that they just like gave you as much art as humanly possible on this, which Alien Books manga have been really pushing that a lot. So I'm going to put this in backwards now. Yeah, so many, and there was so many great manga out this week that I've been excited to read, and so many great books. Like I told you, there's so much happening. Again, check out that sucked to me. Check out our Instagram. We've got pinned to the top of the page our calendar. If you don't follow us on Instagram already, it's at Bat City Comic Books. This calendar. Oh, I was covering everything. This calendar is pinned there for the month of November. It has all of our Giving Thanks sale dates on there with all the cool deals. It does not have Small Business Saturday specials on there. That will come later. Don't forget this week, not only do we have buy one, get one free on manga on Wednesday, but we also have our manga meetup at 6 p.m. Ladies and Non-Binary Nerd Night is Thursday night at 8, and all hardcovers are 20% off all day that day. We have our subscriber potluck friends and family night at 7 p.m. on Friday, which again, the store will be closed to anybody who does not have their weekly pull list with us after 7 p.m. Please bring a dish and a drink and a thing, and let's have some fun. We'll also have 20% off all new books that day. I will be out at the Rocky Bluff Library Fest from 10 to 1 on Saturday. However, Matt and Santiago will be here with a buy one, get one free modern backstock sale, and it'll be fun. Come grab some. It's going to be great. And then there will be more great books coming your way this Wednesday. So we'll be back here next Sunday to talk all about them. Until then, as I said at the beginning, I'm drinking this specially selected Aldi Rioja, which is a Tempranillo of sorts. And we are having a great night talking about some great books. Make sure you stop in and check out all of those books at your local comic shop because you're going to want to read them. They were so good. Until we see you next time, happy reading, everyone. Bye.